So our curriculum plans for next year for our overarching curriculums are coming from a brand new curriculum. Hello and welcome to Of Hymns and Home. My name is Neve Scott. I'm a mother to 3 children and we have been home educating them ever since the beginning of their preschool and kindergarten years using a Charlotte Mason method, and that's what I talk about on this channel. Today I'm sitting here to tell you about what our 2026 and 2027 curriculum plans are and what our next school year is going to look like. So after a lot of research and a lot of prayer, I have finally narrowed down what our overarching curriculum plans are, and it is not what I thought it was going to be when I made that video a couple of months or weeks ago. Before I go any further, I just want to tell you what we've been doing this past year. So this past year I've been using Ambleside Online alongside with the Alviary for our overarching curriculum plans, and the Alviary was not a fit for our family for many a reason, but Ambleside Online is a beautiful curriculum that really worked well for my children. It worked well for me, even my husband, who has taken to teaching my daughter history. And so we will be continuing with some parts of Ambleside Online, but that is not going to be the primary curriculum we're going to be using. For us, Ambleside Online is really a tried and true curriculum. There's so much richness there in the literature they pick, in the books they pick, and so it's a no-brainer that we're going to try to marry it to our new curriculum. And quite frankly, there's a lot of overlap there in terms of the books. So our curriculum plans for next year for our overarching curriculums are coming from a brand new curriculum. I've touched on it in my last video, but I don't think I did it justice, and I don't think I went too much into it because I was holding back because it is a brand new curriculum, and I just felt like, oh well, I'm gonna stick to what has been done before. I'm gonna stick to what we know as well. But then I spent so much time in the past months researching this curriculum and going through it and really pulling out everything that I love about it. And there's so many things that I do love about it. And as I was reading through it, everything stuck out as a yes, this is going to be so good for a family. It's going to be so great. I'm so excited about incorporating this in our next school year. And it was just such a natural, joyful feeling I got reading through the curriculum. And ever since I came to the decision to incorporate it, or to have it be the main part of our curriculum next year, I've been telling the Charlotte Mason homeschoolers in my life that I know, and a lot of them had the same reaction, not because I'm so good at representing this curriculum, I'm truly not, but because the curriculum really speaks for itself. And I just feel so grateful for the lady that has poured her heart and soul into it. And I don't think I've mentioned, but it's a free curriculum. Like, she has created a masterpiece with so much love and wisdom be part of it, and she just poured it all out on paper on the computer for free for us, and I think that's so wonderful and so generous of her. Okay, so I don't think I even said the name of the curriculum we're going to be using, but it is called the Charlotte Mason Cottage curriculum, and I will be referring to it, just to shorten it a little bit, as CMCC throughout the video. So the curriculum is truly a work of art, and it is a result of labor and love and generosity by a lady and homeschooling mom of 17 years named Kirsten Crawford Turner. And as you join, the curriculum is available on the Facebook group, but if you join the Facebook group called the Charlotte Mason Cottage Curriculum, you will find the curriculum and all the files, including the book lists there. And if you go through the curriculum, it's going to be very clear that Kirsten had a very clear and beautiful vision in terms of the books that she chose, how she created the schedule, and she put in a lot of thought and hard work through it. And like I said, I just feel so grateful to her for it. One of the main reasons why I decided to go along with this curriculum is that I found it added a beautiful rhythm to our homeschool days. It creates that kind of liturgical rhythm to our days that makes our homeschool experience, not so segmented where we're like sitting down for, I don't know, a few hours and doing all of our schoolwork and moving on from homeschool. But it just weaves the lifestyle of home education into our life. And to me, that really represents so beautifully what Charlotte Mason says when she talks about education being an atmosphere. And it's something that if I can be honest, I've struggled in this first formal year of education. It's something that was very natural to me in our kindergarten years. But then as we moved to year one, I got rid of a lot of our kindergarten playful and just gentle habits. And maybe it's also because I had a baby and he was a little baby for most of that year. And we were a little bit dependent on his schedule so that when I would put him for his nap, we would sit down and I felt like I followed a checklist that I would check at the end of our day. And it didn't feel so much of a homeschool rhythm as much as a homeschool schedule. And so going into this next year, one of the most important things for me was to add again the flow of that rhythm, and for my children to know what to expect out of our days, for me to know what to expect out of our days, not having a rigid schedule, but just having that rhythm that flows so nicely for our family. And we've been better at it more or less by the end of this year, just because my baby is a little more predictable. He's now a whole year old as of a couple of weeks ago. And so it's been a little bit easier. He's been able to busy himself. And I've been able to sit down every morning and read the Bible to my children and say our prayers. And it's just been so nice to have that anchor our days. But I feel like this curriculum is going to add even more of that liturgy of the family part of our life. Okay, so I have some notes and I'm going to be referencing them because it's not my curriculum and I want to be able to speak correctly about it. So the Charlotte Mason Cottage curriculum, or the CMCC, is organized by 3 forms, as are most Charlotte Mason curriculums. So there's form 1 for the years 1 to 3, and then form 2 for years 4 to 6, and then form 3 for years 7 to 9, and then form 4 for the remaining years of high school. I think I just said it's organized in 3 forms. I meant 4 forms. Sorry. And each form follows a 3-year cycle. And upon studying the curriculum, it's really designed in a way that nurtures family learning. And so it's not so segmented by, okay, you are year 1 and you are in year 3 and you're going to be doing completely different things. We're going to be coming together and doing family learning, which I think is a beautiful way to learn. And the curriculum really speaks to my heart about nurturing that love of learning in our children. The book lists are really rich, they're varied, and you get to choose and really personalize this curriculum for your family. The curriculum is scheduled in 3 terms, which is nothing new for a Charlotte Mason curriculum, but I do love the way that she just names those terms. So there's the fall term, the winter term, and the spring term. Is that correct? Yes. Just right there with that terminology, it adds that beautiful seasonal rhythm to the entirety of the year. The curriculum is very adaptable for each family, so it's not open and go the way that the Alviary was. But to be honest, the Alviary didn't really work for our family. So I am pretty excited to be sitting down and printing out the curriculum. And actually, just to mention this, but she also has the curriculum in a beautiful print format ready for purchase. But I'm excited to go through it and to figure out exactly what books we're going to be using for each subject, and just making our next school year what our family really needs and wants out of it. And the curriculum is really big about using 1 book per term per subject, or 1 book until you're done that book and ready to move on to the next book. One of the things that really stood out to me is the way that she schedules the subjects. So there are core subjects and then there are loop subjects, but I especially love the subjects that she chose to loop in throughout the day. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, and I have this written down because I don't know if I'm going to remember to tell you everything about it off the top of my head, but so there are 4 daily subjects. It's Bible, math, literature, and foreign language. And then there's loop A, loop B, and loop C, and you're going to weave that in throughout your day between each core subject. So loop A is the language arts loop, loop B is the riches loop, and loop C is history and natural history, which nature study and science would fall under. And those three loop categories will be part of every single day. And then as part of, let's say, take loop B, so that's riches. For instance, you will have a number of subjects. So you would have your hymn, your folk song, your artist study, your poetry, handicrafts, drawing, etc. And then as you go through loop B, every single day, you're going to go down your subject list, and once you check off a subject for one day, you move on to the next one. If you didn't get to that next one on that day, you do it on the third day. So that way nothing is missed and everything is evenly distributed and covered throughout the year. But not only is nothing neglected or is everything covered evenly throughout the year, but the way that the scheduling is done and the rhythm to the year and to the days, it just reflects so beautifully that Charlotte Mason approach of going from one subject, let's say copy work, and then moving on to a subject that uses a different part of a child's brain, like hearing a rich history story. And so we are never tiring our children's brains, and they're always able to take a rest between the different subjects and as they move on to the next subject. And throughout home education, Charlotte Mason speaks of that need to alternate between occupations, and this is very representative of that need. I'm going to read to you directly from the curriculum because I think who else is better suited to tell you about the curriculum than the owner of the curriculum herself. So she says, the rhythm that becomes liturgy. When this daily rhythm is lived consistently, it begins to function less like a schedule and more like a shared liturgy for your family. Everyone comes to recognize the pattern of the day, not because it's rigid, but because it's familiar. This is what our mornings look like. This is how we gather. This is how we learn together. The loop system provides a natural flexibility within that structure, allowing subjects to rotate gently without disrupting the flow of the day. At the same time, the order of the day itself remains steady and predictable. Bible, loop A. Math, loop B. Literature, loop C. Foreign language. Over time, your children come to know this rhythm instinctively. Transitions require less explanations. The question of what comes next quietly fades away. Consistency brings a sense of calm and security, especially for your children who flourish when the day feels ordered and trustworthy. The rhythm does not hurry the work, nor does it constrain it. Instead, it holds the family day after day, creating a shared expectation and a shared life of learning, one that is gentle, predictable, and deeply rooted. And that really speaks to me. And I'm sure as you hear this, you're going to love how she talks about the rhythm and the schedule. The other thing that I really love about the curriculum and that sold me on it, quite honestly, is the way that she approaches literature. So I found in Ambleside Online, we're reading some beautiful fables through Aesop's Fables, and we've been reading them through our kindergarten years. And then we're also reading some wonderful fairy tales. But then for year 2, it moves on entirely to mythology, and it leaves fairy tales and fables behind. And I know that as a family, you can keep reading those fables, you can keep reading those fairy tales just as part of your day, but I really like it being part of our homeschool schedule, and I like being part of our narration and just having it there. And so how the CMCC approaches literature is that she has what she calls the literary ladder. And the ladder, contrary to what it might sound like, you're not climbing each rung year by year, or you're not like finishing one and then moving on to the next one, but you are tasting a little bit of what is in each rung. And so, for example, I'm going to tell you about it. So rung 1 is fairy tales and fables, rung 2 is mythology, rung 3 is legends and epics, rung 4 is classic novels, rung 5 is plays, 6 is poetry, and 7 is great books. And so the literary ladder has 7 rungs, and we are encouraged to read to our child from each rung throughout our week. So let's take literature as an example, which is one of the core subjects. So on Monday, for example, you can read a fairy tale. Tuesday, you can read a myth. Wednesday, a poem. Thursday, you can read from your novel, and so on. It allows for really a richness of the literary experience. And I love that we're not simply moving on from fairy tales and from fables and then moving on to the next thing, but we are making room for all the literary things. It also encourages always reading one main story at a time. So let's say you're from rung, is it 3 or 4? Your novel is Charlotte's Web. Well, you are going to wait until you finish Charlotte's Web before starting something like King Arthur from rung 3. And for the most part, though, as you go through this literary ladder, lots of stories are pretty short. Like there's a fable, there's a fairy tale, the Shakespeare retelling, or I don't know, a storybook. Those are very easily able to be read in one sitting or 2 sittings. So one main story at a time makes a lot of sense, and it's really not that difficult to keep that track of. And I think that doing it that way, we're going to get through our stories faster than we did this past year. Okay, I'm going to read directly from the curriculum again. Kirsten says, the ladder does not end with great books. It opens outwards into the rest of the life. We carry its wisdom with us in our homes, our teachings, our prayers, and our friendships. May we, like the Inklings and the eagle child, learn to love the world that shaped learn to love the words that shape the world, to listen humbly, and to add our own small voice of great conversations of the soul. And then she also says the purpose of the literary ladder is not to make us well read, but to draw us beyond ourselves. And I love that. I have personally felt God calling me more to self-forgetfulness and just that concept of being drawn outside of ourselves and to the rest of the world and to the ideas that are beyond our mind is what really attracts me to it. Okay, so now that you know about CMCC, I want to talk about what parts of Ambleside Online we intend to use. And I will say this with a disclaimer. I have not completely finalized our plans. I think I need a full day of just solitary thought to sit down and really give it a lot more thought to know what exactly we're pulling from where. But right now, as it stands, our plan is to continue Ambleside Online for its history curriculum. We've been using it this past year for the history. My daughter has really loved it. She's done really well with it. And I love the thought CMCC does things chronologically. I love that thought. As it stands right now, our plan is to use Ambleside Online. The other thing I'm really trying to figure out, honestly, what we're doing is when it comes to geography, because CMCC, the way that it does geography is it combines it with history, which makes lots of sense. But for me, I really wanted us to learn more about the geography of Canada. I'll see what we do. I'm going to see if we're going to create our own geography curriculum using the Ambleside Online history curriculum, or if I'm going to find something else that better suits our needs. I've gathered a few books that I've thrifted about Canada as a whole that tells stories of Canada, and we have Spirit of Canada, it's like legends, but I don't have anything specifically about the geography of Canada. So I'll have to give that some thought. Bible study. CMCC recommends reading through Hurlbut 2 years in a row, and we've just completed our first year of reading through Hurlbut's story of the Bible. It's a retelling of the Bible. It's a very easy way for adults and for children to understand the Bible chronologically and make sense of it all. I loved it. It's clarified so many things for me, and my children love it. Both of them are able to narrate and reference what we've read. So I think it makes sense to read through it again. I will put a disclaimer for Hurlbut. First off, let me see. This version here is awful. It is full of typos. It was too late for me to return because I only pre-read my books closer to the beginning of the year. So here's a tip for you. If you're purchasing books from Amazon or anywhere, really pre-read your books as you get them, or at least go through them as much as you can. But there's so many typos in these stories, and some of them I have to stop and really think, what is it? What is the word that it's trying to say here? But so I would not recommend this version. And the other thing is, it is from a Protestant view, and I mean, it is the Bible, but it doesn't take the entirety of some of the books in the Bible that the Orthodox or the Catholics would have. And we are Orthodox/Catholic family, mostly Catholic, just more culturally and by baptism Orthodox for me, but Catholic practicing, I would say. So those books are not taken into account, and the way that the Virgin Mary is talked about is not how we think of Virgin Mary, and that's not the belief we hold at all. For language arts, we're going to be using Simply Charlotte Mason. It was recommended by CMCC, and I love Simply Charlotte Mason. I love Sonia Schaefer, so I fully trust that it will do a good job. I believe that it has a placement guide, because I think I've done the placement guide a few months ago for my child, and I think we're going to be using level 3. When it comes to hymns and folk songs and artists, we're going to be using a mix of the CMCC and Ambleside Online recommendations, but I'm also going to be sprucing it up with some Canadiana in there, because I feel like the folk songs we've learned this year were so American heavy. And I mean, there was Yankee Doodle, Shenandoah, and what is the one? Michael Row the Boat Ashore. So it's very American folk songs, but I feel like I should have integrated more Canadian folk songs. So my plan is to create something like this, and as part of it, integrate our memory work, and then our folk songs, our hymns, and our artist study as well. So that's our plans for next school year when it comes to year 2. All that aside, I have a separate video coming out in terms of what our kindergarten plans are. So if you are a parent of a kindergarten or preschool aged child, stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the CMCC, and if you haven't already done it, I really recommend you go on the Facebook page and you take a look at it and see if this might be the curriculum for you and your family, because I feel like it just speaks to my heart so much. I'm so excited about it, and I just want to tell everyone else about it. And like I said, I feel so grateful to her for pouring in so much hard work, and she's so responsive on this Facebook group, and she's always creating new files and new ways of presenting the curriculum and the information to us. And I just feel so grateful for all that charity and love that she's giving out and pouring out to homeschool moms like me. So if you haven't already done it, go on Facebook and search for the Charlotte Mason Cottage curriculum, and then go and read through the files, read through the curriculum, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.